Great Scott! If my calculations are correct, you are listening to this before your fantasy football drafts have taken place. I've been to the future, and those that followed the advice from the Fantasy Footballer's Ultimate Draft Kit had a spectacular season and withstood many victories. It's almost as if Biff had given each of them a copy of Gray's Sports Almanac. I'd highly recommend heading over to www.ultimatedraftkit.com without any further delay.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from pristineauction.com studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. The date is Thursday, March 28th. And we are the Fantasy Footballers. Gentlemen, it's great to be back with you. Had a wonderful birthday. Thank you for the rocking chair.
Oh, you are most welcome.
That wasn't your real present.
It wasn't?
No, your real present was massive, incredible protection up front while you threw for 5 touchdowns and no interceptions last night in flag football. Congratulations, Andy.
That was really fun. And you are referring to yourself as the gift.
Yes, that's correct.
You are my starting center in our flag football league.
That is correct.
That was fun. Yeah. Welcome into the show. We've got free agency winners and losers on the podcast. We have what I think is a fascinating Twitter poll, potential fantasy football scoring adjustment proposal. Look, the NFL, they wrapped up their coaches' meetings. We found out that all offensive and defensive pass interference calls, as well as non-calls, are going to be subject to challenges.
The non-calls is the big deal.
Yeah.
Now, it was brought up to me that, look, we don't want egregious non-calls to affect a team's fortunes the way they did the Saints. But can you review, a Hail Mary at the end of the game and have to diagram and analyze every arm grab and pull? That was brought up.
Right.
But it's the same rules as it's been, where it's it's going to come from the booth under 2 minutes. The coaches aren't getting additional challenges, so they'll have to navigate it with precision. Do you use it on a big play in the first quarter? Or do you save it for an important play at the end of the game? Because I know you said you're going to hold them.
I am holding my flags for as the game goes on. If I'm down and I need, I feel like I would have a play in my playbook where it's just, it's 4 9s and you guys go down there and I'm gonna throw it up for grabs and you get tackled. Don't even go for the ball.
Try to draw a PI.
It's just. That won't happen. I think it will be overblown. Every time that a rule change happens, it's usually overblown this time of year. And then last year, what was the rule? Everyone was just crazy over it. I don't even remember now because it wasn't a problem.
I don't remember last year's, but there was the concern over the illegal contact because that started getting called real heavy
in the preseason.
When I first heard it, my gut reaction was, wow, this is going to be a big problem. But then after working through it, I think it'll be perfectly fine. This is the natural reaction. A very high-level game was ruined because referees couldn't look at this and get the call right. It was the NFC Championship game. This blown call led to the Saints not making it to the Super Bowl. So the reaction of the owners, it makes complete and total sense to me. The fact that the referees are in charge of the 2 minutes, under 2 minutes at the end of the game protects because that
was my take too.
You can't call PI on the Hail Mary unless you punch someone in the face. Then you can call PI. Other than that, you got to let it go. So I'm not concerned about that. And I think this will not. I don't think it will change things drastically.
You're probably right. To speak to Jason's point, it's normally overblown. The catch rule, the adjustments, that was a good thing. But that leads us into a fantasy football quick question of the day. By the way, you can follow us on Twitter, participate in these polls, these questions, send us your questions at the FF Ballers. The website's thefantasyfootballers.com. Join our fantasy community over at jointhefoot.com. You get an extra episode every week. I wanted to pose this question because I've had it in my mind, and I'm going to argue in the affirmative. I'm going to argue for it. So if you guys want to play voice of public opinion here, feel free, or just share whatever your true opinion is if you agree with me. But I asked the question on Twitter. 10,000 of you voted last night. And I said, look, should there be a reward for a wide receiver who draws a pass interference penalty? I remember a game last year. Michael Thomas ran about, I don't know, it was like 6 consecutive plays, and about 4 of them, he drew a PI call in the middle of the field, didn't catch any of the passes, but moved the chains.
Yeah.
And so I proposed it in this form. I said, would you be in favor of a 1-point award if your wide receiver had a pass interference call stop them from a potential reception? And I gave the option of no way, yes, just 1 flat point. You draw a penalty, you get a flat point, or yes, and you get the catch yards, right? Because that would be an argument.
Right.
And what was amazing to me, have you guys seen that poll?
I'm
do
looking
you know
at
the
it right
results?
now.
Okay.
I'm looking at
I was
it.
going to have you guess, but the people who said no, they were extremely passionate about their no. I actually believe the answer is yes, not the yards. We don't presume the catch and the yardage, but in my opinion, if you move the chains by drawing a penalty, you are because that's the argument people were giving. It's not a catch. You can't presume a catch. People drop the well, yeah, you're not giving them the yards. And where does it stop was the other objection. You know, does the quarterback get credit for the pass that didn't get completed? How do you –
right.
You know, but to me, we reward things based on what they do to affect a team. You are moving the chains. You are moving the ball down the field. And I don't think 1 point would be something extreme that disrupts it. We give what, 2-point bonus for a 40-yard touchdown. Well, you don't really get 2 points in the NFL if you go for over 40, right?
Right. I've heard people argue in the affirmative.
Where do you weigh in on that? Because, by the way, the vote was 46% yes, 46% no way.
I've heard it argued in the past that should count as a reception for a wide receiver, which I think is nonsense. Absolute and utter nonsense.
I agree with that.
And I agree with that, too.
I'd fight against that to the end of the world. I don't like that. But the idea of giving, you know, just the 1 point for the, you know, and I would say, look, if you're in a half-point league or whatever, maybe you want to do a half point, full point in a PPR. Basically, you're giving them a reception for no yards. I like that. I think it is worthy because there's nothing more frustrating than when you've got the guy and he's targeted and it's going right to him. It's going to be a big play, and some defender comes and just kicks him in the ribs and cheats. And it's like, but that what?
I think it should be 2 points.
I would give it a point.
I would go 2 points because I don't have raw data because I haven't dove into pass interference calls. But to me, pass interference, the likelihood of that being called on a 5-yard reception or even a 10-yard reception, I feel like it leans far more to big plays. So to me, I think that 2 points is fair. This is one of the things that, along with how I feel about quarterback rushing, passing yards, scoring discrepancies, pass interference calls should be rewarded for the wide receivers. I wouldn't give any points to the quarterback. I would say this play is completely in the hands of the wide receiver. He's the one who drew the PI. He was in the right place. Give him. To me, it's 2 points, but I'm also fine with the 1 point.
I'd give him a half or a point. I can't imagine a situation where I'd want to be rooting for the 5-yard slant route to be a pass interference over a catch. I don't want a situation where I'm actually advantaged by a pass interference. It does happen.
Yeah,
it happens.
Yeah, yes, it happens.
You could take the opinion of the Be More dude who says might as well award players that win their games a 50-point bonus. That's how he views the proposed change.
Wow. Do you not see how PI changes a game?
Darren says Torrey Smith would be the 101 for his former days of drawing pass interference calls.
How many pass interference calls actually happen in a season for one wide receiver?
Joseph said that's like in basketball giving an assist to the person who's fouled if they make both their free throws. I said, to me, it is almost exactly like that.
For the quarterback, yes.
Right. If you gave it to the quarterback. It's interesting, though, because there were some very strong opinions. I think in today's NFL, if you draw a pass, I mean, look, the best receivers draw them, right? So that says there's something about what you're doing on the field. I think it should be rewarded. I thought it was an interesting debate regardless.
The NFL thinks they should be rewarded.
Right.
That's why it's full yardage and not just a 15-yard penalty like it is in college.
It's true.
You said, here's 60 yards because you probably should have caught that.
Yeah, that's true. The NFL does say that. All right, hey, hot off the presses, the first rookie reception perception article from Matt Harmon, who does the reception perception content for the Ultimate Draft Kit each and every year. His first article, this one about N'Keal Harry, it's out on the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. Go check it out.
News and notes from around the league, presented by Sleeper.
All right, Jared Cook officially signs his deal with the Saints, 2 years, $15.5 million.
The quill pen finally showed up.
Yeah, right. Is that what we said on Tuesday? Because we had the kind of delayed report. But Jared Cook is officially a New Orleans Saint and extremely relevant. And we'll be talking about him a little bit later with the fantasy football winners and losers in free agency. Jordy Nelson, he is retiring from the National Football League after 11 seasons.
Good night, sweet prince.
I would have loved to see him come back to Green Bay for a season.
Yeah.
But, look, he's done. He's done. Isaiah Crowell. He is visiting the Raiders today, Thursday. So we're recording this later on Wednesday. We don't know if he signed. But John Gruden?
That was the strange part of the
He's hoping to add him.
The report. Normally when Rappaport or Schefter say they get a scoop, a hot scoop, a player is visiting a team, it's never followed up by also the coach really wants to sign him.
Well, I think, there are certain situations where we see it reported someone is going to a certain city and they expect to sign him should he pass a physical and, check out.
Right.
I think that's what this situation is based on that report, that Gruden hopes to sign him. It seems like, well, let's check him out. If he passes everything and is what we expect him to be.
I can say this. Based off of my dynasty team and the offseason of Magic continuing, Isaiah Crowell is an Oakland Raider. It's already done.
It probably is already done. If Isaiah Crowell is signed,
not good.
Marshawn Lynch will most assuredly not be back in Oakland. It also will stifle any of my
Jalen Richard.
Jalen Richard will be.
He'll still be the pass
He'll still
catcher.
be relevant.
Chris
Warren's hype train will slow down.
Oh, it will come to a screeching halt.
Mike, who has Marshawn Lynch in our dynasty league?
I think Andy's still holding on hope.
Who has Jalen Richard?
I believe that was also Andy.
Andy, can I ask you a question? Who has Chris Warren?
That would be me.
Come on, Crowell. Be a Raider.
Here comes 3 bench spots.
You want to trade for Chris Warren, Jason? All right. We'll find out what happens there. Bills released Chris Ivory. Pete Carroll confirmed Doug Baldwin going to undergo sports hernia surgery in April. I saw criticism of our Forgotten Players episode that we had left off Doug Baldwin.
Oh, I remember him.
Yeah, he deserves to be forgotten until surgeries stop.
Yeah.
So right now he has a ways to go to get healthy.
You brushed over it, but the Bills releasing Chris Ivory, I think that's very good news for LaShawn McCoy, who to me was a potential cut candidate, but now I believe that the Bills will move forward with Shady and Frank Gore in their 65 combined years of NFL action.
Yeah, I guess it depended on your perception of the McCoy situation. To me, he was going to be there, and so this is a replacement for Chris Ivory. But, it's a good point. And then we will get to the hype train on Chris Godwin is in full force.
Yes.
Come
on!
Chris Godwin, Bucs coach Bruce Arians says he can be close to a 100-catch guy. There was some talk of Chris Godwin moving inside. playing from the slot. They lost Adam Humphries. Justin Watson could be outside. Chris Godwin could come inside. I understand the excitement for Chris Godwin. He's a well-rounded receiver. He's a red zone threat. He's a big guy. He had a great season last year. Bruce Arians likes to air it out. You know, my only concern with Chris Godwin this year and a potential breakout is, you know, it's the objects in mirror are closer than they appear. It's the same narrative and the same refrain for the Bucs offense that we've had for multiple years. The same stories were coming out about Deshaun Jackson when he arrived there originally. We may not remember them, but we should. Because when he arrived, perfect match, perfect fit. Everything's lined up. He should dominate. Doesn't always happen.
I actually think the better fit. I mean, Jameis does not have a very accurate deep ball, but the middle of the field, that's why, you know, he's always been so good with tight ends. The middle of the field is where Jameis thrives. Chris Godwin, to me, is very Anquan Bolden-esque. He's just a really solid, well-rounded, tough, you box him out wide receiver.
He's great.
Yeah, I think Chris Godwin's great. He's 23 years old. Bruce Arians coming over helps as well. So, yeah, I get it. The hype might be out of control.
He might. It's gone.
Well, the hype is going crazy.
He is in orbit.
Well, but here's my point, Mike, on the might. It might be out of control because I know that there's so much that maybe it's too far. But I believe it might just be real. You know, there's so much smoke because there's a fire here. I believe it. I mean, I traded I overpaid to get Chris Godwin. So, obviously, I am a believer in Chris Godwin's talent and Bruce Arians coming in. But, you know, TBD.
Well, I mean, the points against him is he's not the #1 receiver on the team.
That's the hard point for him.
And Jameis Winston is a point for him and a point against him.
Right. The hype train, it was also fueled by the comment of Chris Godwin could play the Larry Fitzgerald role, which was then referring to him going to the slot. And then you look back, how did Larry do with Bruce Arians? Fantastic. He was a 100 and 1,000-yard receiver. The problem was on those Cardinals teams, there was no Mike Evans.
Right, he was the number one.
He was the number one, and he was the only one who was a competent wide receiver at the time. So I think Chris Godwin is going to be great. I also am concerned about his average draft position being 5th, 4th round, because by the time real drafts catch around, it's not just us talking about Chris Godwin. Everybody loves Chris Godwin already.
Right. Well, I mean, look, when he was 22, second year in the league, he finishes the wide receiver 29 with Adam Humphries there, with Deshaun Jackson there. Now he's going to see an uptick in targets.
He was a big winner from free agency.
So these are reasons I believe. But we'll have the debate on Godwin as the offseason continues.
More hype train. We've talked about Derrius Guice, multiple surgeries. We just brought him up on the last show. Video came out on Twitter showing him looking pretty spry. We talked about him maybe being somebody that is more of a second-half winner for leagues potentially. What do you think about the news coming out? Jay Gruden talking about the fact he will be 100% for OTAs.
Was it OTAs
for
or
training camp? I'm sorry, for training camp. Are you more excited when you hear that news? Because the concern has just basically been how ready will he be?
Yeah, the fact that if he is actually 100% ready for training camp and we see him in preseason games, then I'll be excited.
Do you see the videos?
Once again. Yeah, but
not straight line though. I mean
he's running, he's cutting, doing agility drills. I think the biggest takeaway from that spew of comments that Jay Gruden was throwing out there was more that Case Keenum drinks was it Colt McCoy? Colt McCoy drinks half a gallon of unpasteurized milk every single day.
I thought it was a gallon.
Was it a gallon?
A gallon. And I was like that. I thought that's like impossible for a human, but I guess that's within an hour.
Now let's look at that for a moment. What? Why?
Why was this brought up?
And also, if it's about strong bones,
right? I have to believe
this is just break his bones.
Well, I think that's the point. Is maybe is
he doing it to boost his
doing
bone?
It now.
Oh, he's gonna get back. He's drinking his milk.
Was that the point? He's drinking milk now?
That's why they know. Calcium Colt. That's what they call him.
That is what they call him.
That's the worst nickname that anybody's ever had. Calcium Colt.
Calcium Colt Cowboy.
Okay.
Keo!
Sure. All right, hey.
Just wait till Case Keenum's drinking 2 gallons of milk.
This is going to be a lot of vomit on the field.
You better do it now. It's going to be so much. That's what is. Did you guys ever do that as kids, the milk gallon challenge?
I watched somebody do it.
Not advisable.
Oh, I saw them do it. I saw the results.
Oh, I highly advise it. Try to drink a gallon of milk in an hour, see what happens.
Videotape it. All right, with fantasy football ramping down, now's the time to ask your commish if you're using the right platform. Use Sleeper. Let's go ahead and get into the winners and losers.
Everybody, well, that's what I'm talking about, guys. We've made a great effort so far. Let's just keep it up.
That's right. We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We've got to keep our composure. We've come too far.
All right, free agency winners
We're motivated,
losers.
Andy. We're motivating winners. We're motivating losers.
Yes, you want to keep the momentum going.
That's right.
Unless you're on the loser side, in which case you want to stop it, turn around, go the other direction.
You still want to give them a good pat on the butt and say good job.
All right, Jason, who is
Loser.
your winner from free agency? We wanted to highlight 1 or 2 guys that we ourselves feel like benefited the most from free agency. Sometimes it is a quarterback receiving weapons. Sometimes it's the actual free agent. Who was it for you?
Yeah, for me, it was Latavius Murray.
Big winner.
I remember in 2015 when I said I love Latavius Murray.
Still gross.
And here's the reality is, rewind the tape a month ago. Latavius comes out, says he wants to get a starting job. He wants to, get more volume. And I was joking.
To be fair, I said the same thing about myself.
That's what I was saying. That was the joke.
I would like a starting job.
Me too. You're not going to get it.
5 touchdowns, no interceptions.
But that was his goal. And then he went to a team that would actually fulfill that goal. Not to say he's the starter over Kamara. Obviously not. But this is a team in the Saints that have always, always, always had 2 quality fantasy producers, if not 3 quality fantasy producers when you go back to the Darren Sproles days. We've talked about this on the show before. J.J. Zacharyson tweeted out just how dominant New Orleans has been for fantasy for the running back position as a team. Team rankings, they're either first place in the league or second place in the league since 2011. That's before Kamara, before Ingram,
2012, before 2013,
before 2014, all those. This is, he wasn't dealing always. A 29-year-old Pierre Thomas was a great fantasy asset back in the day for this team. And so a 29-year-old Latavius Murray, who can also catch passes, he wasn't used that way lately, but his second year in his career, he had 41 receptions. He's capable to do that, and the Saints will definitely get him involved.
I think it's very interesting because I understand the statistics because I know what Sean Payton wants to do. You have had years with New Orleans in the past where the attempts per player didn't equate to the fantasy value you're talking about. They had a year with Ingram and Pierre Thomas and Darren Sproles and Chris Ivory on the roster where nobody got more than 120 carries individually. We know Kamara is going to dominate because he's a better first down, second down runner than Latavius Murray. He's a better pass catcher than Latavius Murray. So I think while I'm not disagreeing with the table set that is before him, I think it comes down to whether you believe Latavius Murray is blank. Is he talented enough to earn the trust of, like, Mark Ingram's really good.
Right.
Right? And he still found himself into the doghouse at times of Sean Payton. So
I think Latavius Murray is a good enough running back in the NFL
do you agree with that, Mike?
To succeed with the Saints. I don't think he's a top flight great player, but the difference between Latavius Murray and Mark Ingram to me is not one of the difference between Alvin Kamara and,
they also have Dwayne Washington there.
Uh-oh. Look out. I think there's a big difference between Mark Ingram and Latavius Murray, but Sean Payton doesn't. They gave him a sizable contract to come in, and he will play that Mark Ingram role. It will come down to how many goal line opportunities does Latavius Murray steal from Kamara?
Right.
I agree with that, and I think he is he's set up to be successful. Jason's winner, Latavius Murray.
Yeah, it's not so much that I think, like, I'm not saying Latavius is a top 15 back. You need to go out and get him. But Latavius, you know, a month ago.
He could have been out the league.
Yeah, I was going to say a month ago I would have given Latavius away for anything, like a pickle. I love pickles. So I would have given him away for a pickle. Mike, you don't like pickles.
Correct.
You might have still taken that trade to trade the pickle for value to me.
That's true.
Yeah.
So
accurate.
So he is a huge winner because I see him now as a low-end RB2, a weekly guy that, you know, if you need a starter, you could throw him in and
over under 200 carries for Latavius Murray.
Under. I'd say
under 700 yards for Latavius Murray. I guess that would be an under. That'd be an under too. Over under 8 touchdowns for Latavius Murray.
That's the key. I think he's going to be there, maybe over that. I mean, Pierre Thomas had 147 carries back in what year was that? 2013.
You said it when he was 29, so that would have been 2013.
And he was a great fantasy asset that year because of touchdowns, receptions, and other things that the Saints do.
All right, my winners, I'm going to lump them together. One of them, we mentioned him, Jared Cook is a free agent winner to me. The other one, Devin S. Scrumptious, Devin Funchess. Look, we often say on the show that talent and it's talent plus opportunity that makes a valuable fantasy football player. However, sometimes it is more opportunity than talent. I feel like Cook and Funchess, they have succeeded previously in fantasy football by being the only show in town. Jared Cook last year led the Raiders in passing or in receiving. He was the only competent pass catcher on that roster. Devin Funchess succeeded very much during his good year in Carolina because he was pretty much the only guy on the roster, and they're both very smart to put themselves in that position, and they are both very smart to attach themselves to high-level quarterbacks, and that is what happened in this offseason. The quarterbacks that they've attached themselves to, Jared Cook, Drew Brees, Devin Scrumptious, now going to Indianapolis with Andrew Luck and his affinity for big guys in the red zone. Look, it's going to carry those two to fantasy relevance again. Both should have, in my opinion, as good, if not better years this season in their new homes than their best fantasy seasons ever. Both teams' quarterbacks benefit from their additions. Like Breeze, his fantasy relevance goes up with Jared Cook added to the equation. Same with Andrew Luck. You know, say whatever you want about the talent level of these players. They are in great opportunities. They have great opportunities, I mean. And so I think that they're both big-time winners this free agent season.
Have you seen any of the quotes? And I know you can get coach speak, so you got to be careful. But have you seen the way that Frank Reich talks about Devin Funchess?
He talks about him the way that I have of years past, which is
like
rare.
He is madly in love with Devin Funchess.
There are plenty
I watched Devin's take, and I'm like, oh, my goodness. I was like, please, let's get this guy.
He talks about his route running.
Dude,
I think he's a good route runner, but I feel like I always get made fun of when I say that.
Well, the thing is Reich had the DVR on 1.5 speed. So he looked
oh, man.
He looked real good.
My point is
he's young. Look, Jason's
you
brought
don't
it up.
have to say these things about you gave him a 1-year deal. You can say, like, we brought him in. He's got an opportunity. Instead of, oh, my goodness.
Well,
like,
sure.
You
No,
know
I get it. I mean, Dante Moncrief last year.
You know what's
they
funny?
didn't say those things about Moncrief.
You know what's funny is a lot of these deals when you go and look at them. So it comes out, you know, a 1-year, $10 million plus deal for Funchess, and you know it's a prove it deal. And then you go look at Tyrell Williams, and he comes out 3 years, more money, all this jazz. But you got to be careful, especially for players if you're playing a dynasty. Look at the contracts. Once the actual details come out, you can check it on like Spot Track. I just wanted to bring up a lot of these 3-year deals that we're seeing are 1-year deals. They're like Tyrell Williams got all his guaranteed money in this year. So it's basically like a $10 million 1-year contract where they can cut him afterwards after 1 year. It's not really a much different deal than I feel like I would rather be on Funchess' deal. But anyways, that was just an aside.
Yeah, and for context, I mean, we remember Drew Brees with Jimmy Graham. Since he left, the Saints have been in the bottom 10 in terms of percentage of team targets to the tight end because they haven't had somebody as competent as Jared Cook.
Ben Watson was okay for a half.
He was. And I think that's more the point is he was sharing snaps. I mean, Jared Cook's going to be on the field a lot for this deal, especially when you look at why he chose New Orleans over someone like New England.
The postman, Dan Arnold.
Sure. Another guy on my dynasty team. That's great. All right, Mike, fantasy football winners and losers.
So my big winner, there's the mania. It's Baker Mayfield, and he didn't even win through a free agent signing. It just was this off-season period where somehow his team was able to trade for a future Hall of Fame wide receiver who was in the peak of his career when they already had surrounded Baker by high-level weapons. Baker was good for fantasy 50% of the time last year, started elevating, really showing what he could do once Freddie Kitchens took over the play calling and they got Hugh Jackson out of there. Baker was crazy this offseason because people were taking him as the fifth quarterback off the board, and
we were rolling our eyes going,
yeah.
"Oh, you bunch of
I couldn't buy in at that
prisoners
level.
of the moment."
And I love Baker, which I mean, I think it comes through how highly I think of Baker Mayfield as a player. But now with Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry as his two primary pass catchers, he's probably worth that price because he will finish as a top 5 quarterback.
He has immunity to a horrible season.
Yes.
Like he has some sort of – like Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, Njoku, Callaway, they give you some sort of baseline. Like I don't think Baker Mayfield's guaranteed a top 5 season. I really don't.
No.
I don't think so.
I agree. He's not guaranteed a top 5.
You've got Nick Chubb. You have a great defense. There are going to be situations where maybe he's managing some of the game. But Odell can take a little managed check down into something big. So I like it. You cheated a little bit, but I get it. I think he's a huge winner this offseason. All right, going to losers. Let's talk about some of the free agent losers. Mike, why don't you kick it off and give us yours first?
My biggest losers are guys who were considered
Chris Warren, Marshawn Lynch.
He's about
Jalen Richard,
Andy Holloway.
And it's not because these guys have crumbled in and they aren't fantasy relevant anymore, but it was because they could have been the 101 and the 102 off the draft. They have been, and that's Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. Things aren't nearly as rosy for them. I think that they are going to find that despite not liking what was going on in Pittsburgh, despite Antonio Brown in his estranged relationship with his quarterback, he's going to find out that his previous quarterback was a heck of a lot better than the one that he has now. Volume will go down. If Antonio Brown doesn't hold up an extremely astronomical target share, you're going to see him outside of the top 5 at the wide receiver position when he was easily the #1 guy for years. Le'Veon Bell is going to be running behind an average to below average offensive line. He's going to find out Todd Gurley style what happens when that's what you're stuck with. I mean, look how successful the Jets running backs were last year. And I understand that people are going to say, well, that's the argument for bringing in Lev Bell. But I think that's more a product of the team and the offensive line than it was actually those running backs. They were set up to fail.
I think you're saying a lot if you think that he's going to find out Todd Gurley style what that's like, because I think that implies you're going to have a really down fantasy year. Is that the implication?
Todd Gurley, where did Todd Gurley finish that year?
16, 17, I think?
17.
Yeah, I think that Le'Veon Bell, it won't shock me if he finishes in that range of 10 to 15.
Okay. That's profound. All right, Jason, who do you have as the biggest loser this offseason?
I think the biggest loser is the running back. You know, everyone wanted to know where Lev Bell was going, but the next best running back, the gem to get in free agency was Tevin Coleman.
He was the dynasty stash for 2 years.
I mean, people were looking forward to this offseason for so long because he's going to get out from under Devonta Freeman, and he's gonna pull a one of those Michael Turner type of roles where he was just behind LaDainian Tomlinson forever. As soon as he gets out, he's a star, and he went and he signed as a backup. He's not. I would be shocked if Tevin Coleman is the one. I would see either Jerick McKinnon or Matt Breida as the one. Tevin Coleman is the two, and look, he's not a loser for himself. I think it's a good situation to be in as a human, but for fantasy, he's in a 3 or 4-way timeshare, and it appeared going into free agency like he was going to be able to land, a great spot. I think I had him projected to go to the Raiders and kind of take over as the main guy there.
Is that a good spot for like Isaiah Crowell to land?
Yeah, I mean the two great spots where you knew the team was going to make a play for a running back that they were going to give a workload to me, was the Jets and the Raiders. And so to sign as a backup,
you don't want to play Isaiah Crowell. No part of you wants to put him in your lineup.
That's true. Even if he signs with the Raiders, you're
going to be proud of that.
Will I be proud? No, but I will accept your gross points.
Here's maybe here's the lesson to be learned from the Tevin Coleman situation, or at least a lesson to be learned. I think templating is a problem when it comes to free agency. What happens in the NFL? You brought up Michael Turner, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many next Michael Turners have there been? We've brought up Randy Moss, right, signing with New England. How many projections of the Moss type numbers have been given to Brandon Lloyd and Danny Amendola and whoever comes next?
It's
right?
a really good
on
point.
The outside.
The fact that I'm bringing up Michael Turner,
it just tells
as
you
the example. Like this, like
you guys remember Michael Turner?
Michael Turner's not like, last year's Michael Turner. It's been a minute since the backup is gone.
You guys remember Steven Jackson?
So I agree with you. I think that Tevin Coleman is one of the big losers of the free agency season. I think the other one that I have down, it's funny because it's a contrast, because I think he makes Josh Allen an actual winner. I think Josh Allen is a free agency winner because of the addition of John Brown and Cole Beasley to Robert Foster and Zay Jones and company in Buffalo. More weapons. It's good for Josh Allen. But John Brown, the individual, I mean, it's kind of what you just said about Tevin Coleman. Like the offense for San Francisco, it benefits from Tevin Coleman, but the fantasy player doesn't. John Brown, look, sometimes you got to take the money. I don't blame Coleman or Brown for taking what they could get. Doesn't mean they're going to get the chance to do much for fantasy owners. It's going to be tough sledding for John Brown again. He's a good player, but he's gonna have a good game. He's gonna have a disappearing act game. He's going to be up against it. There's going to be a game when Josh Allen runs for 110 yards and doesn't find him. And we saw that happen last year to John Brown in Baltimore. So it's going to be a little bit up and down. And unfortunately, John Brown ended the offseason in fantasy Siberia, both in temperature and fantasy production. So
I wonder, you look at, so Tevin Coleman got a bad deal. He didn't make that much money even to go and be the backup. He was paid appropriately for the role he's getting. And you think, well, that's just a bad job with the agent. Like maybe if he had maybe if he was with Drew Rosenhaus, and I don't know who his agent is. I assume it's not Drew Rosenhaus based on what I'm saying.
That would be so great if
that
it
would
was.
Be very funny.
Hold on.
Someone vet it. No, but I'm going to go ahead and say, of course it's not, because he got a bad deal. And I'm just sitting here thinking, I wonder if there's for future dynasty free agent, is there an agent correlation to fantasy value because they get the money.
I'll let you do the work on that one.
It's like, do Drew Rosenhaus's clients perform better because he gets them more money,
right?
So they get the ball.
So there's more of a commitment from the team. It's an interesting thing. I will definitely not look up myself. Let me throw some names out. We'll be quick here, and I want you to say whether you think they are a free agent winner or loser. Okay, because we got through some of our main guys. Mark Ingram, free agency winner or loser?
Big winner.
I think he's a winner.
Who?
Mark Ingram.
Mark Ingram.
Stuck on that Tevin Coleman age. It's harder to find it than I think
Mark Ingram is a winner.
Yeah.
All right. What about Derek Carr? That's a winner, right?
He's a
Derek Carr's huge winner.
yeah.
Absolute
There's an upgrade.
It's a monstrous
Yes,
winner.
it's a monstrous upgrade, but I still don't think he will be anything more than a streaming option.
Is Nick Foles a winner in free
No.
agency?
No, I don't think so.
He's not going to a pass-friendly
Not
team.
not for fantasy. I mean, he is certainly a winner in
His
free
bank
agency,
account was a winner.
but not for fantasy.
I think we agree. Vance McDonald,
Yes.
a big winner in free
Yes,
agency.
Definitely.
What about Juju? What do you think of Juju? Is he
That-
a winner or
so-
is he a loser?
That's interesting. That's one where you're going to get different opinions. Not everybody's going to agree. I've seen plenty of people saying it's bad news bears for Juju. Everyone that is all on, Juju, they're going to have a rough year this year. Even to the tune of, I think it was Reggie Wayne talking about Juju's going to have a hard year this year because he did this, right? Reggie Wayne was behind Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison went and he became the guy, and he's like, it's so different. That being said, I think Juju is a huge winner.
I think we've talked about that a little bit. The reason I don't think he's a winner is because I think the percentage odds of him – look, he had a monstrous year. He had a very impressive statistical year. I think we all agree it's going to come down to the touchdowns in Pittsburgh, which should be available, right? I mean, Antonio Brown was the #1 touchdown scorer in the league at the position, but it is going to be harder for him. It is going to be more difficult. He is
Much
going to
more
have
difficult
some
coverage.
Yeah, he's going to have to overcome some other losers. I mean, Big Ben loses weapons, obviously. Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, certainly.
It's funny because the deal McKinnon got last year we were surprised about would have been the kind of deal I would have thought Coleman would have gotten this year.
Right.
Yes. And they were very different deals. Elijah McGuire, you're a loser.
wow.
Because
Nothing to do with free agency.
Nothing to do.
It's
No, come
totally
on.
different point. Elijah, you're a loser.
No. Just because of Lev Bell. Jordan Howard, winner or loser this offseason so far?
Definite loser.
Really?
I think for
Nothing's
sure.
happened.
Nothing is well.
Mike Davis.
Mike Davis
Yeah,
signed,
Mike
and
Davis.
the thing is we saw at the end of the year what's the name of the third string back Mizzou? I can't remember.
Oh, yeah. I would have to look.
I don't know why I can't remember. I want to say Mizzou, but that's a school. That's Mizzou is a place where people play.
Isn't that the instrument?
Yeah,
Oh,
the
no.
Mazuba horn.
That's a kazoo. You got it.
I was
Mike?
not. That was the kazoo joke.
Mizzell.
What's that?
Mizzell.
Mizzell. All right. So
Yeah, he came
I
in
wasn't
and,
too far off.
and he caught like a touchdown, and
He's
everyone
a
freaked
special
out.
teams
But
guy.
it was right. But the point was
He was on the field.
they started trying different things when they looked like they were getting unhappy with Jordan
Yeah,
Howard.
see,
And now they go and they sign a guy.
you were singing the praises of Jordan Howard and his consistency in fantasy last year
I was
at the end of the season. The same time that you're saying
no.
they're trying different things.
Yes, but here follow my logic, because this is why I tried and succeeded to trade Jordan Howard this offseason, is because season ends. Okay, they don't, win the Super Bowl. Now they go and there's all these rumors about them trading Jordan Howard. Then there's confirmed interviews that they've got with some, top end running backs. They have had rookie incoming guys stop by for one-on-one interviews. Then they sign Mike Davis. What I'm saying is not like, oh, Mike Davis is there, Jordan Howard's a huge loser. It just all of the reports, all the smoke around, they say to me that Jordan Howard is losing the battle for who's going to be the main dog there. And maybe I'm wrong.
Look, just pay attention to the coaching meetings yesterday. Matt Nagy said there's a role for Jordan Howard on the team, but the team is listening to trades. What destinations are the home runs for Jordan Howard? We'll close this segment on this before we get into the mailbag. But give me 3 destinations where you will be looking at Jordan Howard as a winner of the offseason if he's traded to those teams.
Tampa Bay.
Yes.
Tampa Bay? Philly?
I mean,
Philadelphia?
Yeah, he would be.
It's a timeshare, but
I feel like it would be a lateral move, which would make him a winner, because
Yes.
I agree that things are not trending well for him in Chicago.
lateral from last year,
Yeah.
which was he was okay.
Not an actual lateral, in which case he would not catch that.
Correct.
Okay.
A third team that he would be.
Where could he go and be a surprise force? Somewhere that wants to run the ball a lot, volume. Is there anybody else? I mean, what if he ended up in Indianapolis? Is that a downgrade?
That was the name that I was kind of thinking of.
Yeah,
I would be
it's just-
surprised because of his lack of pass catching ability.
Yes.
But that would certainly – I mean, if they were to go – that's the thing.
Just 24 years old. It's
if a
interesting.
team trades for him, they're going to give him work.
It's tough in the streets to be a running back this day and age if you don't catch passes.
Just don't go – don't surprise go to the Jags. That's all I ask.
Oh, man.
That's a perfect fit. That's what they want.
That'd be funny.
That would
all
be
right,
funny.
let's jump into the mailbag.
Mailbag.
All right, you got a question for the show? We're listening.
I
Go to the
do.
website, thefantasyfootballers.com. Click the submit a question button. 302-464-TFFB is the voicemail hotline. Brooks, do we have any voicemails in there today, or am I just going from our list?
Just from the list.
Okay, just making sure.
Keep those voicemails short,
like
people.
your kiss.
Yeah, keep the voicemail short. 302-464-TFFB. Here's a question. This is from Kickin' the Conchery in New York.
Okay.
You remember
This is a family show.
Jericho
Conchery.
Conchery. Come on now.
Yeah.
Fantasy football staple. Would you sell high on Mark Ingram right now in
Yes.
a dynasty league?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I think he's a winner for this year for redraft, but if dynasty, if you can ride that wave of
The
positive,
trade, the free agent wave.
yeah, of positive momentum for Mark Ingram, I would trade him.
Yeah, he's 29 years old, so if that's the time, you're not going to capitalize next year with a 30-year-old Mark Ingram.
Right.
The news is high. I would be willing.
All right, Gage in London, Ontario.
Oh, bonjour.
I feel like it's two separate places. He's in London, Ontario.
Bonjour.
I'm the commissioner of my league. I want to try the Fab waiver system, though I have never used it before. My question is this: what is a good amount to set your seasonal budget to?
100
Yep.
bones. It makes everything easy because when we say, hey,
100 skrills.
100
Casheroonies.
100 cashews. I would set it 100 because a lot of times people will reference what percentage of their budget they would spend. And it's real easy if I say 5% of my budget and you got $100.
You can do that kind of math?
I can. It's 5.
Jason, if your money,
$5.
if your
$5.
fiat were cashews,
Mm-hmm. Oh, I would be broke.
okay.
But
Question-
my toilet would be rich.
your toilet would be.
Well, eventually.
All right.
So you're saying 100
100 smackeroos.
100 smackers.
Yes.
Good. 100 greenbacks. Eric in Winnipeg, Canada.
Oh, bonjour.
Would you trade Michael Thomas for Tyler Boyd and Kerryon Johnson?
No.
In Dynasty. Tyler Boyd and Kerryon Johnson?
Man,
No.
that's
Okay.
I think it's a worthy offer because
Brooks put two questions
I
from
would-
Kicking the Conchery in here.
I would
Two.
I would turn it down. I would keep Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas is elite. Getting an elite wide receiver is incredibly difficult. I understand that Drew Brees will be retiring shortly, but I think Michael Thomas is elite, so it doesn't matter who's next.
I am literally right now in a startup draft that is going on during this show. I've been like going over to that channel and trying to trade up because I'm trying to get one of
Teddy.
the elite.
You're trying to get Teddy.
Right now I'm trying to get Devontae Adams. But yeah, it's very difficult to get one of the 5 or 6 young stud wide receivers. So yeah, I would
What was that?
I would keep
No
Michael
way.
Thomas.
Okay. All right. Bill in Gilbert's, Illinois. I'm in a keeper league where you can keep a max of 3 players. The players I have to pick from are Lev Bell, Alvin Kamara, David Johnson, and Nick Chubb. Which 3 would you keep? Lev Bell, Alvin Kamara, David Johnson, Nick Chubb. This comes down to, Mike, do you believe Lev Bell or Nick Chubb is a better player this season?
That's funny. I was going to say I think the
Or between David Johnson.
David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell is going to be a
So Alvin Kamara's in.
Alvin
is what we
Kamara's
just
in.
decided.
Yeah. Yes.
But David Johnson, Nick Chubb, Lev Bell, pick 2. I'll take David Johnson and I'll take Lev Bell.
I agree. The half of season of Kareem Hunt is going to push that answer for me.
Yeah, it does for me as well. All right, let's move on.
Pristine deal of the day.
Is it a Jericho Conchery jersey?
No, it is an Alvin
$2.
Kamara. An Alvin Kamara jersey that went for 56
What?
Smackeroos.
56 large ones.
Oh,
56
man.
quid.
56 BTC. Yes.
50. Wait.
That'd be a lot of money.
56 Bitcoins?
Yeah.
Wow,
That'd be
yeah,
a
that's-
lot of
That
money.
was not a deal.
Well, there you go. There are hundreds of daily auctions on Pristine Auction. We highlight one a day. Alvin Kamara, just $56 for a signed, authentic jersey. Check them out. It is it's a great gift. It's a great way to stock up on the wherever you're watching the games,
It's
the
free,
office,
free to make an account,
man cave.
free to bid, and you only pay if you win. So go win something.
All right, that is it for today's show. Thanks for tuning in, for listening, for supporting the podcast. Everybody at jointhefoot.com, the official Foot Clan, we appreciate you.
Indeed.
And very excited for the NFL draft coming up and some shows next week.
Goodbye.
Talk to you then.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.